Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Saturday, January 24th, 2026.
Hello.
Today, we are staring into a void that is, I think it's fair to say, both incredibly glamorous and just undeniably dark.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to be dissecting the life of a figure who has been a tabloid fixture for decades, but whose story has taken some truly bizarre, tragic, and politically charged turns in just the last 12 months.
It really has. I mean, it's a story that feels like it belongs in Victorian fiction. You know, a fallen heiress, a mysterious death at sea, a web of high society secrets.
Right.
But it's happening right now, in real time, within the federal prison system of the United States. It's just wild.
We are talking, of course, about Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, I think for most listeners, the image they have of her is probably frozen in time.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Maybe it's that courtroom sketch from 2021 where she's, drawn in a notebook. Or maybe it's that infamous photo of her smiling next to a prince or a president. But we're looking at the entire arc today. Because if you think the story ended with the gavel coming down in 2021, you are missing the most complex chapter.
You're missing the whole third act,
Yeah.
absolutely. We have a stack of sources today that includes not just the old biographical data, but Bureau of Prisons records, congressional subpoenas from late 2025.
And some very, very troubling reports regarding the death of a key figure in this saga just last year.
Yes. That's a huge part of this.
And that is our mission today. We aren't just rehashing the trial. We're going to trace the line from a 53-room mansion in Oxford, where she was the favorite daughter of a media tycoon, all the way to her current reality as inmate, 02879-509.
It's quite a trajectory.
We need to unpack the chaotic events of 2025, the prison transfers that made no sense, the whistleblower allegations of special treatment, and the political firestorm that just won't die down.
And the central question we're trying to answer is this. How does a woman who was trained to be the ultimate socialite, the ultimate hostess, become what a federal judge called instrumental in a sex trafficking ring?
Right.
And perhaps more importantly for where we are today in 2026, is she actually serving her time? Or is she still, in some way, managing the system from the inside?
That's the chilling part, isn't it? That's the real question.
Yeah.
So buckle up. We are going deep.
Let's do it.
To understand the end, we have to understand the beginning. We have to go back to France, Christmas Day, 1961. Ghislaine Noel Marion Maxwell is born.
A Christmas baby, the youngest of 9 children. And you have to pause on that family dynamic immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Her mother, Elizabeth Maxwell, was a French-born scholar, a brilliant woman who, eventually became a Holocaust researcher.
Mm-hmm.
Her father was Robert Maxwell, the Czechoslovak-born British media proprietor.
A larger-than-life figure?
Exactly. This wasn't just a big family. It was a massive, chaotic, high-pressure empire.
And tragedy struck almost the moment she arrived. 2 days after Ghislaine was born, her 15-year-old brother, Michael, was in a catastrophic car accident.
Right. He went into a coma and stayed in that state until he eventually died in 1967. So Ghislaine's entire early childhood, her formative years, were lived in the shadow of this suspended grief.
That must have just permeated everything.
Her mother actually wrote later that this accident affected the entire family deeply, which is, of course it did. But there is a specific detail about Ghislaine as a toddler that is really haunting.
I saw this in the source material, and I had to double-check it because it seems so intense.
It is.
Her mother surmised that Ghislaine showed signs of anorexia while she was still just a toddler.
Yes.
Yeah.
3 years old. Psychologically, that is incredibly young to manifest control issues over food. Usually, we see that in adolescence.
Right, it's a teenage thing, typically.
For a toddler, it suggests a child who feels a desperate need to control the one thing they can, their own intake, in an environment that perhaps felt chaotic or, emotionally unavailable due to the family's grief over Michael.
It sets a terrifying precedent for a life defined by control and discipline.
It really does.
She grew up in Headington Hill Hall in Oxford. And just to paint the picture for you listening, this isn't just a nice house in the suburbs.
No, not at all.
It's a 53-room mansion. It has its own gravity.
It was also the headquarters for Pergamon Press, her father's publishing company. So the lines between home and the empire were completely non-existent.
They were just blurred into one.
Yeah, and Robert Maxwell, he wasn't just a father. He was a titan, a tyrant, and a very, very large personality. He bullied his children.
I read that he pitted them against each other.
Constantly. In what you might call a corporate version of natural selection. It was brutal. But Ghislaine, she was different.
She was the favorite.
She was the favorite.
That's a dangerous place to be with a narcissist, isn't it? Being the favorite means you get the perks, but you also absorb the bulk of the pressure.
All of it.
You have to perform. You are the mirror reflecting their greatness back at them.
Precisely. She wasn't just the pampered daughter. She was the aide-de-camp. There's a fascinating detail from a Tatler piece where she recalled that her father installed weighing computers at the mansion in 1973.
In 73, that's really early.
Super early. Now, for the tech heads listening, the weighing 2200 was a serious piece of kit for the early 70s. It wasn't a Game Boy. It was a monochromatic screen, heavy machinery.
And her job wasn't to play Pong on it.
No. Her first job was training to use it, learning coding, in the early 70s.
Wow.
It shows that she was being trained to be useful. She was being trained to serve the patriarch using the most modern tools available.
She was being groomed for a specific role in his empire.
Completely. She worked for his company. She was a director of the Oxford United Football Club when he owned it. She founded a women's club. She was everywhere he needed her to be. She was his proxy.
And there's that story about the yacht that just, it really cements this whole dynamic, the Lady Ghislaine.
Oh, yes, the ultimate symbol of possession. In 1986, Robert invited her to a shipyard in the Netherlands to name his new yacht after her.
After her.
The Lady Ghislaine. And it was luxury personified, jacuzzi, sauna, disco. She spent the late 80s hosting on this boat. She became the hostess of his floating palace.
But think about the psychology of that.
I mean, it's right there.
The boat is named after you, but you are serving the drinks. You are the figurehead, literally and figuratively.
Yes. You are an ornament on his possession.
But the control went both ways, or rather, the control over her was absolute. I saw a report from the Times that said once she went to Oxford University Balliol College, he stopped letting her bring boyfriends home.
He effectively cut off her public association with romantic partners. He wanted her focused on him and his interests. It was incredibly possessive.
Wow.
In 1990, for example, he sent her to New York to deliver an envelope. She thought she was just being a dutiful daughter running an errand for Dad.
Just a simple task.
Yeah. It turned out, unbeknownst to her, it was part of a plot to steal $200 million from shareholders.
So she was a pawn, a very well-dressed, well-educated pawn.
A very useful pawn.
And then the king falls. Or, rather, he falls off the boat.
November 1991. Robert Maxwell's body is found floating near the Canary Islands, not far from the Lady Ghislaine. The official verdict was accidental drowning. He was a heavy man, had a heart condition, maybe he slipped.
But Ghislaine never believed that, not for a second.
No, she is on record saying she believes he was murdered. She said, quote, "He did not commit suicide. That was just not consistent with his character."
And the aftermath was just catastrophic. It wasn't just that her dad died.
No, that was only the beginning.
It was that the money vanished. The Mirror Group pension fraud was revealed. Can we explain that briefly? Because pension fraud sounds so dry, but this was devastation for thousands of people.
It was theft, plain and simple. Robert Maxwell had raided the pension funds of his employees to prop up his failing companies and his lavish lifestyle.
How much are we talking about?
We are talking $400 million missing. 32,000 people saw their retirement savings evaporate overnight.
32,000 people.
It was one of the biggest corporate scandals in British history. Just breathtaking greed.
So her brothers, Ian and Kevin, they get arrested because they were at the office every day, they were part of the business.
Right, they were implicated directly.
Ghislaine wasn't charged, but socially. She was radioactive in London.
Oh, completely toxic. The Maxwell name went from being royalty to being synonymous with theft. She couldn't show her face in the salons of London without people whispering about their stolen pensions.
So what does a socialite do when society turns its back?
She gets on a Concorde, a one-way ticket to New York City shortly after her father's death.
And this is the pivot point.
This is the moment where the trajectory shifts directly toward Jeffrey Epstein.
She arrives in New York, and she has a trust fund from Liechtenstein that pays her about £80,000 a year.
Which sounds like a lot of money to most of us.
Right. Let's be real. That is a decent salary for a normal person in the early 90s. You could live well.
Mm-hmm.
But for someone who grew up in a 53-room mansion and flew on private jets,
that's basically poverty to her. It's relative deprivation. She needed to maintain a lifestyle that her income could no longer support.
She was living in an apartment overlooking Central Park, sure, but she was desperate to climb back to the top. She needed a sponsor.
She needed a new host organism, a new patriarch.
And that desperation made her vulnerable.
It's the classic pattern.
Enter Jeffrey Epstein. The accounts of how they met vary. Some say late 80s, some say early 90s, after a bad breakup she had with an Italian count. But by 1993, they were a unit.
A solid unit. And notice the pattern. She moves from one domineering, mysterious, wealthy man, her father, to another.
Exactly.
But her role with Epstein evolved into something very specific. She wasn't just a girlfriend. Epstein referred to her as his best friend.
But the staff?
The staff, they called her the lady of the house.
That title implies management. It implies structure. It's not just the girlfriend hanging out by the pool.
No, not at all. It's a job title. She hired and fired the staff. She managed the properties: New York, Palm Beach, New Mexico, Paris, the Virgin Islands. She professionalized his life.
She took the chaos of his new money and applied the structure of old money.
That's a perfect way to put it. But as we now know from the trial, she also professionalized his abuse.
This is the part that is hardest to stomach, what you called the grooming playbook.
Yes.
It wasn't just that she looked the other way. The sources, specifically the court documents and the accounts from survivors, paint a picture of active, enthusiastic participation.
Prosecutor Laura Pomerantz laid this out so clearly at the trial. It was a pyramid scheme of abuse.
A pyramid scheme.
Yes. They would reward girls for recruiting other girls. And Maxwell was the safety mechanism. A teenage girl might be terrified of a strange man in a mansion. Of course they would be.
But a sophisticated British woman, someone who spoke nicely, who asked about their schoolwork.
She made it seem safe. She normalized the abnormal. She was the friendly face on something monstrous.
We have to talk about the specific accusations here,
Yeah,
because they really showed the mechanics of how this worked. Virginia Giuffre, who we will talk about more later regarding the tragic events of 2025.
A key figure.
She was recruited at 16 while working as a spa attendant at Mar-a-Lago.
Right, at Donald Trump's club. And Giuffre's testimony was that Maxwell didn't just introduce her to Epstein, she trained her.
Trained her.
How? There was sexual instruction. Maxwell taught her how to be subservient, how to please him. Giuffre said, quote, "The training started immediately. A lot of this training came from Ghislaine herself."
It breaks the myth that she was just a bystander.
It shatters it. She was the architect of the environment. She was the headmistress of this horrific school.
And then there's the story of Maria Farmer. This story always chills me. The art project in Ohio.
This was 1996. Farmer was a young artist, very talented. Epstein and Maxwell hired her to work on a project at Leslie Wexner's estate in Ohio.
The billionaire behind Victoria's Secret.
That's the one. Farmer alleges she was sexually assaulted by both of them, and when she tried to live or speak out, she claims Maxwell threatened her life and her career.
So she wasn't just the recruiter, she was the enforcer.
The recruiter and the enforcer. And she was also the connector. She used her Rolodex to insulate Epstein.
This is the social insulation aspect.
Yes, this is how they got away with it for so long. Epstein was a college dropout from Coney Island. He had money, but he didn't have class. He didn't have the pedigree.
Maxwell was Oxford-educated aristocracy. She was the real deal, socially.
She brought the legitimacy. She introduced him to Prince Andrew. She got him into rooms he could never have entered on his own.
That photo, we've all seen it. Maxwell and Epstein at the Queen's estate, Sandringham. It's them sitting on a log cabin porch, looking casual.
That was reportedly for her 39th birthday in 2000. Prince Andrew described it as a straightforward shooting weekend.
A straightforward shooting weekend.
But just think about the access. She brought a sex offender, though, not yet convicted at that time, into the heart of the British establishment.
She connected him to Bill Clinton, to Donald Trump, to the elite of the elite.
She made him safe for polite society. She laundered his reputation with her own social capital.
She made him acceptable. And then 2008 happens. Epstein is convicted for the first time, so it was a slap on the wrist in Florida. And Maxwell, she sort of fades.
She goes into what I call the hidden years. From 2008 to roughly 2019, she isn't in the tabloids as Epstein's sidekick anymore. She tries to rebrand.
She tries to pivot away from the Epstein stench.
Desperately. Which brings us to the TerraMar Project.
Right. I remember seeing the website for this before it was scrubbed. It looked like a legitimate NGO.
It was designed to. She founded this nonprofit in 2012 to advocate for the oceans. She gave a TEDx talk. She spoke at the UN.
Use a classic reputation laundering move.
A textbook case. Look at me, I'm a philanthropist. It's fascinating because the ocean represents the ultimate depth, the ultimate secret keeper.
That's a good point.
But notice the timing. The organization dissolved in July 2019.
When?
Literally days after Epstein was arrested on federal charges in New York.
Wow. She just pulled the plug.
Instantly. The second the spotlight was back on, she vanished.
And that brings us to the manhunt. Epstein is arrested, then he dies in his cell in August 2019. And suddenly, the eyes of the world turn to Ghislaine. Where is she?
She was ghosting the world. She was living in Bradford, New Hampshire, on a 156-acre property called Tucked Away.
Tucked away. You can't make this stuff up.
You really can't. She
Yeah.
bought it for over $1 million in cash through a shell company.
Yeah.
She had former British military personnel as security. She was living in a gilded cage in the middle of the woods.
But technology caught her. I love this detail, or rather, I find it fascinatingly dystopian. The FBI found her using a stingray.
Yeah.
Can you explain for the listener what that actually is? Because it sounds like something out of a spy movie.
It effectively is. A stingray is a colloquial term for a cell site simulator. It's a device that mimics a cell phone tower.
So it tricks your phone.
Exactly. Your phone thinks it's connecting to Verizon or AT&T to get a signal, but it's actually connecting to the FBI's device nearby. It forces the phone to handshake with the device, allowing them to triangulate the exact location.
And she was trying to be careful, right?
She was. She wrapped her phone in foil sometimes, but not careful enough. She used a phone to call her sister Isabel, her lawyer, and her secret husband, Scott Borgerson.
And that was the mistake.
That was it. The FBI triangulated the signal. They breached the door in July 2020. She was arrested.
And that led to the trial in late 2021. The defense tried to argue false memory syndrome.
Which is a controversial psychological theory often used to discredit abuse survivors, suggesting they have misremembered trauma under the influence of therapists or media.
A pretty desperate tactic.
Very. The defense also tried to blame everything on Epstein, saying she was just a scapegoat because he was dead. Don't punish the woman for the man's crimes. That was the line.
But the jury didn't buy it.
No, not at all. She was found guilty on 5 of 6 counts. Sex trafficking, conspiracy, transporting a minor. Sentenced to 20 years.
20 years.
And the judge, Alison Nathan, made a statement that I think is the epitaph for her defense. She said Maxwell was not a proxy, she was instrumental.
Instrumental? That's such a heavy word.
Yeah.
It implies she was a necessary component.
A critical part of the machine, not just a passenger.
So that brings us up to what most people know. But now we need to open the file on what has happened since the trial. Because 2025, my God, 2025 was a year of reckoning and chaos.
It was. It really was. And we have to start with the most tragic news from last year.
Yeah.
The death of Virginia Giuffre.
This was just heartbreaking. According to the reports we have, she committed suicide on April 25, 2025, at her farm in Australia. She was only 41.
It is an absolute tragedy. And we have to be respectful here, but we also have to look at the impact on the case and the community.
Okay.
This is a woman who fought for decades to be heard. She sued Maxwell for defamation back in 2015. That was the domino that really started this whole collapse.
That was the lawsuit that blew the whole thing open.
It was. She settled with Prince Andrew. She was the face of the survivor community. For her to survive the abuse, the legal battles, the media scrutiny, and then to pass away this way. It just underscores the long tail of trauma.
Her memoir, Nobody's Girl, was published posthumously in October 2025. Did you get a chance to review the excerpts in our source stack?
I did, and it contained bombshells. I mean, real bombshells. She alleged that Maxwell and Epstein planned to use her as a surrogate mother.
What?
Yes. It just shows the level of control and possession they felt they had over her body, not just for sexual use, but for reproductive use. It's beyond disturbing.
And now, with her gone.
Her death removes the primary antagonist to Maxwell's narrative. Legally, the most vocal accuser is gone. It creates a vacuum.
And while the survivor community was mourning, strange things were happening in the prison system.
Yes, very strange.
In August 2025, Maxwell was transferred. She had been at FCI Tallahassee, which is a low-security prison, but then she was moved to FPC Bryan in Texas.
FPC Bryan is a federal prison camp. It's minimum security. It's often called Camp Cupcake.
Camp Cupcake. That doesn't sound like hard times.
It isn't. We're talking dormitory-style housing, limited fencing. It is considered one of the best places to do time if you have to be in the federal system. It's where Elizabeth Holmes was sent. It represents a significant upgrade in quality of life.
And this transfer raised a lot of eyebrows. Why move a high-profile sex trafficker to a camp?
Exactly. And then came the whistleblower.
This is where it gets infuriating for a lot of people.
Yes. In November 2025, Congressman Jamie Raskin came forward with information from a whistleblower within the Bureau of Prisons. And the allegations were just stunning. They claimed Maxwell was receiving special treatment that goes far beyond just a nice view.
We're talking more than just an extra pillow.
Much, much more. We're talking custom meals delivered to her, avoiding the standard prison loaf.
So she's not eating what everyone else is eating.
Apparently not. Guests allowed to bring computers in during visits. which is a massive security breach in any prison. You do not let inmates access outside technology.
No way. That's a huge red flag.
A huge red flag. And this one really stands out. Access to a service dog in training as a companion.
A service dog. As a companion, while other inmates are lucky to get their mail on time.
Exactly. Raskin said the warden was even sending out emails on her behalf. This sparked a massive probe. It suggests that her influence or her money or the secrets she holds are still currency even inside the Bureau of Prisons.
It reinforces the idea that there is a two-tiered justice system.
It screams it. One for the wealthy and connected and one for everyone else.
And it gets more political. There was that hot mic moment involving the DOJ that happened right around the transfer.
Yes. Joseph Schnitt, an acting deputy chief at the DOJ, he was caught on video claiming that the transfer to the lesser security prison was a way to keep her mouth shut.
To keep her mouth shut. Shut from what? From countering the administration? Or spilling secrets?
That's the implication, that she has leverage. The DOJ deny it, of course. They released a statement saying Schnitt had no connection to the Epstein case. But when you have a prisoner with connections to Clinton, Trump, Prince Andrew, and half the billionaires in the world,
right,
the idea that she is being managed rather than just punished is a very persistent theory. And these allegations of special treatment, they give it weight.
And speaking of keeping her mouth shut, she has been legally stonewalling everyone.
Consistently. In July 2025, the House Oversight Committee, led by James Comer, subpoenaed her. They wanted her to testify about the Epstein network.
They wanted the names.
Specifically looking for names for connections to intelligence agencies, the whole 9 yards. She refused.
On what grounds?
She said she wouldn't testify without immunity.
Which was a non-starter.
Of course. Congress isn't going to give immunity to a convicted sex trafficker just to hear her gossip. It would be political suicide.
So that went nowhere.
And then there was the interview with the DOJ. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche went to interview her in prison in July 2025.
Todd Blanche. That name rings a bell. He defended Trump in 2024, right?
Correct. And in 2025, he was appointed to the DOJ. He interviewed Maxwell for 2 days. The transcripts were released in August 2025.
Yeah.
And guess what? She gave them nothing. Absolutely nothing. She claimed she had no incriminating info on high-profile figures. She said Trump never did anything of concern in her presence. She protected Clinton. She protected everyone.
It's the omerta, the code of silence. She is sticking to the code.
Yep.
Even after Epstein is dead, even as she's serving 20 years. Why?
That is the million-dollar question. Is it loyalty? Is it fear? Or is it leverage? As long as she holds the secrets, she has value. If she spills everything, she becomes expendable.
Or maybe she just still sees herself as one of them.
Or perhaps she simply believes that by keeping quiet, she maintains some shred of her former status. She is still an insider, even in a jumpsuit.
And legally, she is running out of road. Her appeals have hit a wall.
A brick wall. The Second Circuit upheld her conviction in September 2024. The Supreme Court declined to hear her case in October 2025.
So that's it for the normal appeals process.
That's it. So now, as of December 2025, she is filing a habeas petition pro se.
Pro se meaning she is her own lawyer.
Yes. Habeas corpus is basically a last-ditch appeal where you argue your imprisonment is unlawful. She's claiming unfair trial evidence. But she was just rebuked by a judge recently for including unredacted victim names in her filings.
Oh, come on.
It's messy. It smacks of desperation. She's flailing.
I want to pivot to her personal life for a minute because there are so many contradictions there. We mentioned the secret husband, Scott Borgerson.
That was a bizarre subplot. She married him in secret in 2016. He was a tech CEO, a fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations.
Serious guy?
A very serious guy. And he blew up his life for her. He left his wife for her. But the marriage didn't last the prison term.
What happened?
It ended in divorce via a prison call in 2021. It seems he was another shield and another attempt at normalcy that just, it failed.
And then there's the religion. In 2023, reports came out that she had converted to Judaism in prison.
Right. Now, her father was Jewish, and she is of Jewish descent, but she was raised Anglican. She wasn't halachically Jewish, born of a Jewish mother by strict Orthodox definition, but she converted behind bars.
Cynics might say kosher meals are better.
That is a common motivation in the prison system, frankly. The food is often fresher or safer.
But there's more to it.
She also reportedly tapped into resources for incarcerated Jews. It's another community, another network. It fits her pattern of finding a group and embedding herself in it.
Whether it's the Oxford elite, the Epstein ring, the TerraMar environmentalists.
Or, now, a religious group in prison. She is a chameleon. She adapts to survive.
And we have to touch on the politics again because her scrapbook, the one found by the FBI, kept making headlines in 2025.
The infamous 50th birthday letter. This came out in July 2025. It was a letter from Donald Trump to Epstein, found in Maxwell's scrapbook from 2003.
What did it say?
It was a friendly congratulatory note. Happy 50th, you're a great guy, that sort of thing.
And Trump sued the Wall Street Journal for publishing it.
He filed a $10 billion lawsuit. But the letter itself just confirms what we've known all along. They were all in the same circle.
Right. This wasn't a partisan operation.
Not at all. She was at Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010. She was mingling with everyone. The attempt to paint her as belonging to one political team is false. She was an equal opportunity networker. She collected powerful people, like trading cards.
So here we are. It's 2026. She's in Texas. She's filing her own legal briefs. She's allegedly eating custom meals.
And getting a service dog.
And the woman who fought hardest to put her there, Virginia Giuffre, is gone.
That's a very heavy place to land.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. What does all of this mean? We have a woman who had everything, lost it, clawed it back by facilitating horrors, and is now in this strange limbo.
I think the takeaway is about the machinery of enablement. Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't a monster who appeared out of nowhere. She was created.
Created by...
She was created by the entitlement of her father's world. She was refined by the desperation of her financial collapse. And she was empowered by a society, our society, that is willing to look the other way if you have the right last name and the right connections.
And that machinery didn't stop when the cell door locked.
No. The allegations of special treatment, the political maneuvering, the fear of what she might say, it all proves that the system is still responding to her influence, or at least the threat of it. The prison walls are there, but the invisible threads of power are still vibrating.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? She's scheduled for release in July 2037. She'll be in her mid-70s.
If she serves the full term.
Right, if. Because with the whistleblowers and the transfers, nothing seems set in stone.
And with the death of her primary accuser, the dynamic changes. The moral weight of the opposition has lost its loudest voice. It leaves a silence that Maxwell might try to fill with her own narrative.
That's a terrifying thought.
History is written by the survivors, and Maxwell is nothing if not a survivor.
That is a chilling thought. We started by asking if she is truly serving time, or if she's still manipulating the system. The evidence from 2025 suggests she hasn't stopped playing the game.
The game board just got smaller.
She's a survivor. That's the one thing you can't deny. She survived her father, she survived the fraud scandal, she survived Epstein. The question is, can the truth survive her?
I think that's the question we leave everyone with.
A question we will have to keep asking. Thank you for listening to this deep dive. It's a heavy one, but an important one. We'll catch you on the next one.
Stay curious and stay critical.